What's quack-a-lackin', everybody? As you can tell from the scenery behind me, I've had a little bit of a change of plans this week. I had told you that we were going to go to the town of Brandon, South Dakota, and indeed we're still going to do that, but just not today, because you cannot drive by something like this without getting out the camera and pressing record. This place is absolutely incredible. Check it out. This is 1880 Cowboy Town in Buffalo Ridge, South Dakota. It's the first stop just past Sioux Falls. If you hit 90 West, the last exit for Sioux Falls is Marion Road. You go another 10 minutes down the interstate and you will see the sign says Hartford. It's the exit for Hartford, but you get off there and hang a left and Buffalo Ridge is right there as soon as you exit off. And you can't miss this place. If you can miss this place, then you need to have your vision checked. But if you do happen to overlook it, just look for the Fireworks Superstore. Pull in there, and there's a gas station at the Fireworks Superstore, as well as the entrance to 1880 Cowboy Town. Now, just a quick point of clarification, because there are actually two different 1880 Cowboy Towns in South Dakota. How many does your state have? Because we have two. We have two. The one that is considered the real 1880 Cowboy Town is probably about 4 or 5 hours west of here in the town of Midland. And that is a legitimate town comprised of authentic period buildings that were brought in from all over the state of South Dakota and surrounding areas to do this reconstruction of what a pioneer town was. And it sounds like an absolutely amazing place. We'll definitely go there and check it out one day. But today we are at the other 1880 Cowboy Town in Buffalo Ridge, South Dakota, just outside of Sioux Falls. And unlike the other 1880 Cowboy Town, this one is not a legitimate pioneer environment of authentic period buildings. This one was a what you would call a roadside attraction from 1972 that is definitely showing its age, but it's still absolutely incredible, and it's just right outside of town, right on the edge of town. So I thought, why not come out here and check it out? And while I'm here, of course, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of this place. This 1880 Cowboy Town was the vision of a man named Dean Songstadt, who was a local social studies teacher. He retired in the mid-1960s, and even though he taught social studies, history was his real passion, and he came up with the idea to construct this place as sort of a three-dimensional classroom. He wanted to have a place that showcased what pioneer life was like, what things would have been like in your typical pioneer town in this area. And he envisioned this as sort of a place where students would come to have interactive lessons in history, just to make things more interesting. So he retired from teaching school in the mid-1960s, and throughout the latter half of the 1960s, he went to work constructing all of these buildings. But he didn't just construct the buildings. He enlisted the help of his friend, Bill Jorgenson, to +1 this place, to kick it up another level with something that was really state-of-the-art for its time, and that was robotic animatronics to act out various scenes for these lessons. Now, I can't say enough about the desire and the determination and the passion that must go through taking the time and effort and expense to construct all of these buildings from scratch. But then just the ingenuity of what Bill Jorgenson did, because what he did was, it's very windy today, as it often is in South Dakota. I'm putting a lot of faith into my microphone. I do have, if you can see, I do have the windscreen on the microphone, so hopefully that helps, and I have the noise canceling on. But the wind is pushing pretty hard today. It's pushing the camera all over, so that's a challenge. And hopefully it's not breaking through the microphone too much. If it is, no one's gonna watch, but I'm here, so I'm committed. But anyway, the ingenuity of Bill Jorgenson, because what he did was acquire a lot of mannequins, and then he applied like this robotic skeletal structure to these mannequins with all types of actuator arms to supply movement, and he just designed and built these animatronics from scratch. And most of the mannequins that he used today are like 90 to 100 years old, so they're really showing their age. And the animatronics themselves are another half a century old aside from that. So they are really showing their age. Most of them don't still work today, but a few of them do. Let me show you one real quick. So this exhibit says Ghost of the Past, and it talks a little about the buffalo. And I know it's dark in there at the moment, but there is a push button right here. So we will push this button and it's not gonna work. Oh my days, it worked earlier. I must have broke it with the last push, but it basically, this guy here, his head moved back and forth and his arms were very squeaky. They were very squeaky, and a red light came on above him. So maybe there's a timer on it or something. I'll try again later. When you first come to this place, when you enter through the gas station and fireworks superstore, there's an older guy who works there named Brad. And when he finds out that this is your first time here, he will get really excited and tell you a lot about this place. And he starts out in the store where they have a couple of those displays that are better preserved. They have one that is a giant oversized piano playing gorilla named Singing Sam. And then they have another one that is sort of a demonstration of how shoemaking was done in the pioneer days. And that's really what this place was all about, was the educational side of things. Oh my days, they blew the safe. With Dean and Bill long removed from this place, long gone from this 1880 Cowboy Town, obviously things fall into disrepair. The buildings don't receive the same maintenance that they once received, and definitely the animatronics have suffered as a result of that. They give the place a very ghostly vibe. This place is kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's meets the Wild West, is how I interpret it. But to me, it has a different historical significance than what Mr. Songstadt had originally envisioned, because he wanted this to be a place where people could come and see a representation of what a pioneer town looked like. But when I come to this place, I see a representation of what the America of the 1960s and early 1970s was like, because in those days, you didn't really just hop on an airplane and go to where you were going. Typically, once a year, you would make some type of a family vacation that was a road trip, and the journey to the destination was usually the more fun part of that experience. It was more important than where you were going, was just the journey. And if you were going on a very long road trip, you would have these roadside attractions just to break things up, give you a place to stop, stretch your legs, see something different and unique. And this was one of those places that was really what its life was as a roadside attraction. And unfortunately, those things are kind of fading out of today's world. And this place is showing its age. It won't always be here. So while it's here, I wanted to take a look and show you what it's like. So I'm just going to show you all the buildings in town. We'll take a look at them, and we're going to check out 1880 Cowboy Town in Buffalo Ridge. The first building at the end of the street here in town is representative of a gun shop or a gunsmith from the 1800s. In those days, when you bought a gun, it came with a smooth bore barrel, which was not very accurate. So the first thing you would want to do is go to a gunsmith like this, and he would do what they called rifling. He would engrave some spiral grooves inside the barrel, which would increase both the distance and the accuracy of your shot. Next door to the gunsmith is a Chinese laundry. I'm not sure if that was a stereotype or if the Chinese really did dominate the laundry industry in those days, but it seems like every Western I've ever seen in my life had a Chinese laundry. Check it out. This is the Gallows. It's got some stocks out in the front, and it has a handmade plaque here that talks about the hanging of Jack McCall in 1877, who was the one convicted of shooting Wild Bill Hickok in the back. Right next door to the Gallows is the sheriff's office. The note on the door says that the sheriff is out with the posse. He says to check in with the trading post if you need anything, but even though the door is locked, we can do just a little bit of trespassing maybe. get you inside, let you see the inside of the sheriff's office. Must not have been a very glamorous job. But there's where the town drunks would have been kept. Various outlaws and renegades. Directly across the street from the sheriff's office is the gold mine. The gold mine. This place has its own gold mine. I don't know if there's any gold left, but the only way to find out is to go in and check it out. So let's go. See what's inside. I feel like a kid all of a sudden. And that's great because my New Year's resolution this year was to get in contact with my inner child. And man, this place definitely speaks to my inner child. Let's see what's going on in here. Blacksmith, Buffalo Ridge, South Dakota, Dakota Territory. So these are animatronic demonstrations of how the blacksmiths used to blacksmith. Let's see if the button works. Oh.
People from miles around get to the set as general repairman. Puts new steel tires on wagon wheels, hooks on white stuff, and from time to time forges a hinge or two. He is the jack of all trades, and usually a sober, God-fearing citizen.
Oh my days, I can't believe we found one that works because these things are older than I am. As I said, the mannequins are 90 to 100 years old, and then the animatronics inside the mannequins are another 50 years old. So I'm amazed that these things still work, as creepy as they are. They're very cool. I love the voice of the narration in that. I hope the microphone picked it up because it has that quality. If you're from my generation, when you were in school, you probably, from time to time, you would have a film day with an old-fashioned film projector, and they would show you some kind of a decades-old throwback educational documentary film from the 1960s when everybody had crew cuts. And the narrator always sounded just like that, but as it happens, that was the voice of Dean Songstadt, the teacher who built this place. He narrated these lessons, so I'm amazed that that I got to see something that was narrated by the man who created this place. That's kind of an honor, and I hope the microphone picked it up so that his voice will now continue on through the magic of YouTube. So there's a little bit more here. Let me show you this place. The sign says there's a long-lost miner. And the top is a little dusty, so I don't know if we can get a good glimpse of him or not. Where is he? Check him out. His light is so bright. His light is so bright you can't see his face. He's a little tiny skeleton man down there. And there is a snake with him. And there is also a snake here. A snake here. But the coolest thing inside this gold mine is this mannequin. Check him out because he's just so tiny. He is not only does he look like a zombie, but he's very, very short. And this was a guy named Potato Creek Johnny. His real name was John Perrette, and he was 4'3" tall. And he came to the Dakotas in the 1800s, and he went to the Black Hills of the Dakota Territories. And after many years, in 1929, he finally found a nugget that was 7 3/4 ounces. It was one of the largest gold nuggets ever found in the Black Hills. And for a year, he was a fixture of the annual parade in Deadwood, South Dakota. Ye old outhouse. I'm afraid to open the door to see the inside, even for documentation purposes. I'm sorry, we'll just have to use our imaginations. Now, when you first come in off the trail, especially if you've been riding for hours or maybe even days, one of the first things you're probably going to want to do is wet your whistle. And so that makes the local saloon a very important stop in any town, and this place has one right behind me. Let's go check out the saloon. It says 1880 Saloon. It says 12,000 years ago, a glacier moved over this region. And of course, in several places here at 1880 Cowboy Town, it talks about the murder of Wild Bill Hickok. And Mr. Songstadt seemed to really love that story and want to attach it to this place. However, we all know that that took place in the town of Deadwood, out in the Black Hills in the western part of the state. And we are currently in the southeast corner of South Dakota. But I take it these people are doing a little bit of a gambling. It looks like some sort of a primitive roulette wheel. Table full of people drinking in the back. One of them is, I hope, passed out. I'm not sure. You know, look at the bar. Mirror is very, very dusty. Not many bottles to choose from in this saloon. I guess you just take what they've got and that's that. And that's probably the way it really was in a lot of frontier places, just limited options. See, can we see this guy? This guy reminds me a little bit of the Duke. He's got a little John Wayne to his face, if he can get in focus. There we go. A little bit of the Duke in this guy. Check him out. So, this is the saloon. I wish I could sit at a table with one of these fine young gentlemen and order a drink and talk about life. I'm sure that they would be amazed to hear the things that I've got to tell them about the future. Directly across from the saloon, you will find your local dentist office, because who knows, there might be some alcohol involved to instigate a fight. You might need to get a tooth worked on or possibly even removed. And this is the guy who would have done it with what I would imagine are some very, very primitive instruments and probably little or no anesthetic. So let's check it out. Oh Lord, he's got the pliers right in that guy's mouth. Pliers are right there. I wonder why the flag is on display. Have you ever gone to the dentist office before and had a flag just right next to you like that while you were getting work done? The sign on the wall says the dentist might appear once a year on the western frontier for tooth pulling sessions. If you could not wait for the dentist, the blacksmith would remove the tooth with a punch hammer. Oh my God, so your choice is to either wait a whole year for this guy or go to the blacksmith and have him knock it out with a hammer. Wow. No, thank you. No, thank you. And then on this side, it gets even worse, because this is the doctor's office, and I'm not even going to go into what they've got going on here. You can see it for yourself. I mean, and to look at this doctor, does this look like a trustworthy man to you? Wow, what kind of degree did he have? There's a sign that says, the West was not an exceedingly healthful region in spite of the outdoor life and hard work of the people. Few doctors, and they were usually poorly trained. Accidents were common and fevers were always present. Amputations were performed with a butcher knife, a meat saw, and a hot iron. Oh my gosh, they got to cauterize it afterwards with a hot iron. Many doctors practiced bleeding techniques, and a leather shoestring was wrapped around the throat to prevent the croup. What? And they believed that wrapping a copper wire around your wrist prevented rheumatism. I don't know. If you have rheumatism, have you ever tried wrapping a copper wire around your wrist? There is a button on this one as well. Let's give it a push and see what happens. Nothing, as expected, but it's not really the motion that is the thrill here anymore. It is the ghostly remains of what used to be. Speaking of what used to be, I just wanted to show you these plows real quick. One thing that the 1880 Cowboy Town does have is a very large, impressive collection of antique farm implements. And these are just a few of the plows. And these plows, as the sign says, is what broke the prairie forever. When we were in Pipestone, Minnesota last week, I had read a sign there that said at one time there was over 70 million acres of wild prairie in the state. And today there's only 1 million. And you think of that as being because of urbanization, but it's really because of just agricultural advancements and developments. And this quote right here really ties into that. It says, "No one having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the kingdom of God." And that's really just, I guess it's sort of saying that you've destroyed God's creation, so you've got no right receiving the benefits, but you can also say the other side of that. They're feeding America and much of the world at large, and many of these farmers struggle just to make it. So it's a blessing and a curse. It's a mixed bag. It really is. But anyway, let's move on. We're not done with this place yet. Check it out. It is the local post office. There's the postman right there, just waiting to take your money. And here are the mailboxes. Western Union man here waiting to deliver some packages for this young lady and her daughter. They're getting ready to send something off to mom, I bet. And then on the other side of the post office, you have the Western Union telegram. In the late 19th century, if you wanted to get a hold of your family back home, it wasn't always as simple as picking up the phone. Definitely didn't have a phone in your pocket. You probably didn't have one at all. Some towns may not have even had a single phone in the entire town. So you would go down to this guy and he would tap out a telegraph message that would go over a wire system and get delivered to that town, where another man just like this would hand deliver that message to the person you were sending it to. I just wanted to quickly point out this sign on the wall that talks about Jesse and Frank James making it to the Dakota Territory at Devil's Gulch. If you remember, we went there a few weeks back, probably a month ago. I will leave a link up in the top right corner to that video if you are interested in watching it and hearing the story about how the failed attempted bank robbery in Northfield, Minnesota led to an incredibly daring escape in this area by Jesse James. I'm a little bit blinded by the sun, but I'm getting through it. I'm having a good time at this place. And not only does 1880 Cowboy Town have this town, but it also has its own fort. There's a fort here. Who doesn't want to play in a fort? I definitely do. So we're going to head into the fort now, and it is used primarily as sort of like an informal museum to showcase a lot of the antique agricultural instruments that are in their collection. So that's not really my sort of thing, but I know some of you might be interested in seeing those things. So I'm just going to take a quick walk through the fort, show you these things, and then we will continue on with this amazing adventure. So this is a bluegrass reaper. If any agricultural experts out there are familiar with what this device is for, then you are one better than me in that respect. And this says that it is a seed drill, and I can see what I recognize as discs inside there that you would use for shaping the land into rows. I'm not sure about the drilling part, if it just punches holes as it goes. And then there is some type of a cool looking wagon here with really old-fashioned steel wheels. You will never ever have to worry about having a flat tire ever in your life if you have one of these. However, it will be a very rough road and you will feel every last bump that you encounter, to say nothing of the rust effect. Just another wagon. I gotta say, the wagons are kind of cool. If I had something to hitch it to, I wouldn't mind driving one around. They should offer that as an experience and charge for it. I have no idea what this machine is, but just, it looks very complicated. Like something that you would probably have to really have some engineering skills to constantly be fixing and repairing this out on the field. I don't know how they could do it. And it goes all the way around. It's got this chute that comes all the way around. So I'm assuming that it's for harvesting corn in some way, but I don't know what. And look at the chair on it. Imagine sitting on this. I've actually sat on one of these chairs before. I had said in a previous video that when I was 14, My parents bought this small farm in the town of Malvern, Arkansas, and we moved there. And we didn't have a lot of money. We were poor. And so what we did to cut our hay in the field was we bought these antique horse-drawn implements, and we would hook them up to the back of an old pickup truck on the trailer hitch and just drive this thing around the field to cut and rake our hay. And that's how we did it. And I'm sure that to people that had an actual tractor, we looked silly, but to us, it was a lot of fun to do it. But those implements had a seat just like the one I just showed you. So unfortunately, I do know how uncomfortable that was. And I feel sorry whoever spent countless hours driving this machine by horses around a bumpy field somewhere here in South Dakota. This is what you call leaving a curiosity gap open, because while I am going to let you know that there's a ghost horse Comanche at the 1880 Cowboy Town in Buffalo Ridge, South Dakota, I'm not going to put the camera up to the slot to show it to you. If you want to see it, you're just going to have to come out to this place yourself. I just want to show a quick shot at this. This train is not running and probably hasn't in many years. In fact, the cars are strapped in place with wires. But I know some people love model trains, and this one is definitely an old one. So I just thought I would show it real quick. Now, there is one last thing I want to check out in town real quick before I wrap this up, and that is that they have an observation tower at the end of the street that you can go up this observation tower. It's about 3 stories tall, so it gives you like a good view of the area, or I assume. I haven't gone up it yet to know. But there's an observation tower, and the reason they put this tower in place is because, switch hands. They put this tower in place because they actually have buffalo here in Buffalo Ridge that belong to this 1880 Cowboy Town. And in fact, they have 2 different herds of bison. They have a large herd and a smaller herd. But unfortunately, these bison have a really large area here that they can cover, so they're not always in view. And when they are in view, sometimes they're far away. So the really cool guy that I mentioned at the store that will get it sighted when you tell him it's your first time here, Brad, when you come out, he will give you a really nice pair of binoculars if you want. He will offer them to you to bring out here to the observation tower to take a look around and check out the buffalo. But I could already see the buffalo are not within sight. So there's not really much of a reason for me to take the binoculars. And even if I had them, I don't think I could possibly, maybe I could film through them. I don't know. I've never tried. But I don't know that I could show them to you anyway. But just know that there are actually 2 herds of buffalo here at Buffalo Ridge. And if you come here to 1880 Cowboy Town, you can borrow Brad's binoculars, go up the observation tower and check them out. But even though I can't see the buffalo, I still want to go up the observation tower and see what it looks like. It's pretty decent height. I imagine the view is really nice, and it fits in with the fort. They should have built this over at the fort. It would have blended right into that. But I'm going to save you the walk up all the stairs, and I will check in with you when we get up to the top. 43 steps up, and I'm not even out of breath. But yeah, we're quite a ways up, 43 steps if you want to know. But it's so cool up here. I'm not sure about the bars on the windows, but I understand that they don't want people to fall. But it's pretty cool, and you can get a view from any possible angle that you want. So while we're here, let me just show you the view out the windows. Why not? I gotta say, this place is pretty cool. I'm definitely gonna come back again. One of the things that I really like doing just as a personal hobby is to make time-lapse videos of clouds. And when you do time-lapse of clouds, it helps to have some type of a stationary object in the foreground that doesn't move, because that makes the flow of the clouds seem that much more dramatic when you have that stationary object. And you have to admit these buildings would be some pretty amazing stationary objects to have in the foreground of a time-lapse cloud video. So I'm definitely going to come back to do that. And this place just really, like I said, my New Year's resolution has been to get back in touch with my inner child. And at least once a month, I try to do something that helps me with that. And being here in this place today, it really put me in contact with my inner child. I could see myself as a young duckling wearing my cowboy hat and just running around popping off my cap gun. It would be so much fun. Do you remember having cap guns with that little roll of red caps? And when you squeeze the trigger, that little puff of smoke comes up. You remember the smell of the cap gun smoke? Imagine being a child and having your cap guns and getting to run around and play in a place like this. I mean, I've got the entire place all 100% to myself right now. So if you live in Sioux Falls and you have small children, yeah, the animatronics are a little bit creepy, but the town itself is really cool. So if you have small children, especially if you have young boys, bring them out here and just let them run around and play cowboys for a couple of hours, shoot off some cap guns. I'm thinking I might just get some cap guns and come back myself even the day that I do the time-lapse videos. But yeah, bring your kids out here and let them play for a couple of hours. There is an admission fee for adults is $10. I didn't ask about children, but usually kids 12 and under are free at most places. If not, it's not going to be very much, but $10, you can come out here and have a couple of hours for a lot of fun. And where else are you going to get a value like that in 2026? Not very many places. And I'll tell you, another good use of this place would be, I routinely, when I go out to Arrowhead Park or the Perry Nature Preserve, I will see a lot of photographers who are out there. Sorry, I'm blinded by the sun again. I'll see a lot of photographers out there who are taking photographs of young couples or couples that have a baby or what have you. And I get it because those are very beautiful areas, especially during golden hour. But if you're looking for a setting that is like, just like unique and interesting to have as a backdrop in your photography, by all means, 1880 Cowboy Town has exactly what you're looking for. It does. This place is amazing. It's well worth $10. But as I said, to me, this is sort of a throwback to a different time in history because I don't think many Americans still take the family car trip the way that they used to. And as such, many of the roadside attractions that once dotted the highways have already disappeared. And I'm sad to say it's not a matter of if, but when that eventually happens to this place, because without the proper ongoing maintenance, it's just time alone will do it. If not some type of development or something else happens. So I encourage you, get out here and see this place while you can, while it's still here. Or if there is another roadside attraction near where you live, take a day and go spend a couple of hours there and just explore it and photograph it, because these things won't always be around. And there may be some idiot named Quackers one day in the future scrolling through YouTube wondering what these things used to look like. So anyway, that's about it. I'm really sorry that I didn't go to Brandon, South Dakota this week. It's the first time I ever announced what my video was going to be, and then I changed my mind and didn't follow through on that same video. But the reason is that work has really, the last couple of weeks, they've really laid, they've really laid a lot of extra time on us. They've given us extra hours each day, plus an extra day each week. And I'm just coming out of the tail end of that now. So, in fact, I'm supposed to be going to work here in about an hour. It's an extra day. I don't know if I'm going to go because I've had enough. If I do, I'm just going to go in for a few quick hours and head back out, and I'm not going to go on time. Fortunately, Amazon is very flexible in the way they allow me to manage my time, and I have a lot of time off available to use, so I'm going to use a little bit of it. But yeah, take some time out, inspect these places, photograph them, document them, because they won't always be around. And I apologize for not getting to Brandon But I just needed to keep it close to home this week and keep it something simple and also something a little bit more lighthearted, because I know that the video last week when I talked into the history of what had happened at Pipestone, that's a little bit of a sad story. So I just wanted something a little different this week, a little offbeat, unusual for the channel, and just really light on history for a change. So there you have it. Next week I'm undecided. There's two things I have in mind. One is I've really been wanting to do the sculpture walk. So we're either going to go do the 2026 sculpture walk, or I've also really been wanting to do the McKinnon Historic District, and I'm leaning a little bit more heavily in that direction. Chauncey, if you're still watching. So it's going to be one of those two, most likely the McKinnon Historic District, and we'll just circle back to Brandon, South Dakota another day. So until then, as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. If you haven't already done so, please tap the subscribe button down below. I love you guys. Quackers out.